What's up, guys? So a topic we occasionally touch on here is authenticity of cartridges. It was actually the first video I ever did on the channel, was identifying fake N64 cartridges. I'll put a card up here so you can go see that. And a while back we did a video talking about identifying fake Super Nintendo cartridges, and I'll put another link so you can go watch that if you want to. Well, I've been getting a few more Game Boys in my collection recently, and so I thought it would be a good idea to revisit the topic of identifying fake cartridges, but this time we're going to talk about Game Boy Advance games. So let's adjust the view to give you guys kind of a downward look at the table and talk about things you need to look out for when you're buying Game Boy Advance games. Okay, so one of the most obvious things that you can look out for is actually the color of the cartridge. If you didn't know, some Game Boy Advance games came in different color cartridges. Your standard Game Boy Advance game was this like dark gray. The NES Classic series came in these light gray cartridges. As you can see, there is a good difference, a good bit of difference between these two. Your GBA video cartridges came in these light gray cartridges, almost like a white. Your Pokemon games came in translucent variants, which the color kind of matched what the game was about. This is a fake Pokemon Emerald, but it has the right shell color. And there were more. I don't have examples of other ones, but I found a Reddit thread that kind of logs all the different colors of cartridges. And I will link to that in the description below so that way you can go and find it, so that way you're as well informed as you can be. The second most obvious thing you can look for is actually the label art. One, you want to make sure that the cover art that you're looking at is actually correct. Like take Minish Cap here. The PAL version of Minish Cap's cover art is very different than the American version. So if you see somebody selling an American version with the PAL cover art, at the very least, you know it's a reproduction label. And same goes for the other ways. Every North American cover art is going to have an ESRB rating on it. I don't care which one you look at. If it's an American cartridge and it's authentic, it's going to have an ESRB rating on it. So if you're looking at something claiming to be an American cartridge that does not have an ESRB rating on it, again, you probably have a fake. So you really need to pay close attention to make sure that the cover art is actually what it's supposed to look like, especially online, because sometimes that's the only thing you have to look at. And on the same front, if you have something like Mother 3 here, never actually released in the States. So if you see a copy of Mother 3 that does have an ESRB rating on it, it's a fake. But now let's talk a little bit more about physical characteristics of the cartridges themselves, things to look out for that help you identify whether you're looking at a real cart or a fake cart. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that some fakes are actually well made enough to try and be deceiving. So everything that I'm about to talk about, there's a chance a fake could have it. But everything that I'm going to talk about is present on an authentic cartridge. So if any of these things are missing, then you definitely have a fake, at least in some regard. Now, a quick easy tell is the screw here on the back. It is a Y-bit or a three-pronged screwdriver screw. As you can see, it's got the 3 prongs on it. Every authentic cartridge has a 3-pronged screw. If you see something that does not have a 3-pronged screw, it's a fake. And the next thing you're going to want to look at is actually the molding marks on the cartridges themselves, like this embossed Game Boy Advance logo and the embossing on the back, especially these lines here. On authentic cartridges, they are very subtle, I would say. It's really hard to convey this on camera, but I'll do my best to let you see it. You see how this looks versus how this one looks, how this just looks like there's a lot more depth to these impressions. Let me try and flip it around the light just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about here. It's a lot harder to see on camera than I thought it would be, but authentic cartridges, there's just this, it looks like they're just barely touched in there, whereas this has a lot more depth to it. But it's a lot more prominent on the back, I feel. You see how these just look like they're barely there? It's almost like they just skim that down one time, whereas this actually has some whereas this is almost like a bit of a ledge. This one is nowhere near as prominent. The next thing you're going to want to look for on the label is actually the quality assurance mark. So somewhere on the cartridge, it's usually over the Nintendo seal, but it's not always over the Nintendo seal, is a number that has been stamped into the cover label. See it right there, that 22? It's not always going to be 22. It can be really anything, but a real cartridge is always going to have a number embossed onto the cover art or onto the label. Let me show you here on this authentic Pokemon Ruby. It's over here. You see the 20? Whereas on this reproduction Pokemon Emerald, it's not present. Another thing to look out for is actually the quality of the shell itself, and mostly the fit between the two pieces. Like, you can kind of just feel that there's something weird about this Pokemon Emerald just by touching the plastic, especially when compared to like this Pokemon Ruby. But one of the big tells about it is actually the fit of the two pieces of the plastic together. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, but you can really hear it. The fit of this seam here is really, really tight. You can see there's a seam there, you can kind of feel it, but there's not really any ledge or anything because the two pieces are well made and fit together well. Whereas this Pokemon Emerald, the pieces are not made as well, so they don't fit together near as well. The seams stand out a lot more against your hand, and it's really bad here on the top because there's actually a ledge. You can't really, can you see it? Yeah, you can actually see it. It's like there's almost like a gap there, and you can really hear it when you run your finger over it. Let's see if I can. So you can really feel that gap there between the two halves of the plastic. And that's just not an authentic cartridge level of quality that you would expect from something like that. Speaking of the Pokemon games themselves, these are a unique case because they're transparent, so you can actually see through them down onto the board. And we'll cover a few things to look at the boards themselves here in just a few minutes. But the Pokemon Ruby, the Ruby versus Emerald here, and I'll throw Mother 3 in here because it's a reproduction as well. So you can see that there's a lot different stuff going on the reproduction boards than there is on the authentic board. Authentic boards always have these rectangles on them. Now on the Pokemon games, they are up here in the left corner, but they can be in random places on the backs of the boards. But an authentic cartridge is always going to have those present. As you can see here on this Pokemon Emerald, those rectangles are not there. Neither are they on this copy of Mother 3. So if you see all these like solder points spread around, if you don't see those rectangles somewhere on here, you got a fake. As you can see, I've opened up the Namco Museum here. And on the back of it are those gold rectangles. Those gold rectangles are always going to be present on the backs of these boards somewhere. Now, the most surefire way to check if a cartridge is authentic is to look at the board. I've already talked a little bit about that with the Pokemon games. Now, I have two games here. I have a Namco Museum and a reproduction cartridge. I'm going to show you the original one first, but I want you to take a look at the front of this board. Really take it in. Take in its detail. Look at all the little different things on it. And now I want to show you the reproduction board, and I want you to see if you can spot the difference, okay? Here we go. Take it in. Do you see the differences? I mean, they're pretty similar. Other than the obviousness that is wrong here, sometimes they can be a little more deceiving. Like, let's take a look at this Pokemon Emerald. See, that's slightly than this because they at least tried. But the big things you need to look for are, one, no authentic game cartridge has this little blob here. It's a little bit of resin or something that goes over one of the chips on there just to kind of protect it and to keep you from getting to it. So that's a dead giveaway. The Nintendo logo here, as you can see, they're very different looking. The authentic ones are always going to look something like this. And again, as you can see on the back here, the rectangles are not there. And for kicks and giggles, let's open up Mother 3. There's a few more giveaways here. Well, one, this guy is present. And also, this game was not produced by Nintendo. It was produced by Nintendo's sister company, Nintendo. Actually, given that that's taller and that's shorter, that's the L and that's the I. Nolniendo. Yeah, Nolniendo. Good to know. Good to know. And just for a comparison, this authentic Pokemon Ruby. Now again, these are going to look different, but there are some things about them that are similar. You look at that Nintendo itself, that is how it's supposed to look. On the backs, you have the presents of the rectangles. So there we go. I hope this video was informative. I hope I was able to help you identify things that you might not have known about. So that way in the future, whether you're going to a convention, going to a game store, or buying these things on eBay, you know a few more things of what to look out for to help you to not get scammed. So I want to hear from you guys. Was there anything that I missed? Are there other tells to look for whenever you're trying to identify a fake or a real cartridge? Post it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. And if you like what I do here, please think about subscribing because it does help me a lot. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I look forward to bringing you even more informative videos just like this one as the days go on. So again, I want to thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.